Okay, so I basically explained throughout the course of all my videos, I think I've basically been trying to explain that everything is circular. Like it kind of goes back in on its logic and reasoning. I'm saying this is what Albert Einstein basically figured out. That everything was circular, and no matter what you try to do, asking where the beginning and the end of the universe is asking like what's beyond one of the magnetic poles of the universe. It's just not a question that makes sense. Um. Anyways, disregarding all that for a second. Well, you have to regard it, but just put it in the back of your mind for a second. So remember how I said due to John Archibald Wheeler's point A to point B, it doesn't matter which path through the simulation we take, we always end up at the other checkpoint, if you will. I'm saying everything is, if you think about it, all realities, what most people think in this bubble, this line of reasoning right here. Only a very few amount of people actually have the knowledge or skill set to understand how to get through the, let's just say, get through the noise, right? So I'm saying those who do get gravitationally pulled into B, and I'm saying all this is if you cut it in half, you just realize this is the standard deviation. So if someone asks, what's a woman? You could just give them the answer. You could be like, well, the congregate and of all the characteristic traits of all those beings who possess the XX chromosome. And of course, there's overlap with XXY, and then there's probably overlap with XXX or XY or XYX or any thing like that. And I'm saying people are like, well, you have to have a definition. I'm like, well, we do. We just have like 3 parts of that. And they're like, okay, well, it's not always a noun. And they're like, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, if you call it this, then we do. There are 2 parts of that, all remaining under the same word. I'm saying this is how all religions basically operate. They're all under the same order or the same word, but they're giving themselves these flavors, these denominations for some odd reason. So what I was saying was basically we're just giving things values and labels, and we're just swearing that that they have to be defined this way. I'm saying, I don't know. I think it's our definition of things that influence. It's our observation that also partially influences the structure of the universe, the way things operate, which you can see in quantum mechanics. It through the double slit experiment, it seems as if our observation perhaps has some influence on space-time. And then you look at the quantum, the double eraser slit experiment thingamajig, and it's like, okay, so how come future can prove past or past can prove future? And it's like, well, because time was an illusion this entire time, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's just only because you thought time operated in a certain way that it just didn't make sense to you. I'm basically pulling the Albert Einstein version of your math and your physics makes sense, but your time doesn't make sense. Your time frame or your perception doesn't make sense, is what I'm saying. There's still like an unknown variable which you're not understanding here.